Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another card tutorial. Today I have a bit of a silly Christmas card to share with you. This is just something that goes through my head every year before we set up the tree. It hasn't happened, but I'm sure this goes through a lot of other people's heads too. So to get started, I'm using a lot of my stamps from Joy to All. At first, I thought I was going to use the Winter Scrimpty sentiment, but I didn't end up using them because my Hobby Hoppers order arrived just in time. I'm also just flicking through these other stamp sets and pointing to all the bits and pieces that I think I might use, or stamp sets that I've got on hand in case I wanted to use bits and pieces from them. What I really wanted to do was just have a cute Christmas scene that is a little bit chaotic. So the stars of this card are of course the two cats and the two people looking a little bit shocked. So once I had picked out all of my stamps, I set them up on my stamping platform and I'm using my Memento black ink to stamp them onto some white cardstock. Because there were so many images for this one, I had a few pieces of cardstock covered in little stamped images. I don't think I've done this before, but today I used the cake stand from Baked with Love and I've used it as a side table near my couch and it was kind of the perfect height. I love how versatile these stamps are. I love that you can mix and match the sets, and I thought this is just another great way to show that not everything has to be what it's made to be. I'm going to be colouring all of my images in with a mix of Copic markers and alcohol markers, same as always. And also, like always, doing some super simple shading. There's a lot of images here, and as much as I would love to work on my detail and texture in these, I just don't have a lot of time. So I do it as quickly as I can, but still try to make it look good. Speaking of doing things as quickly as I can, I have not been doing as many videos as I would like to. If you hadn't noticed, I'm down to like one video a week at the moment, which is just driving me a little wild. Because crafting, card making, making these YouTube tutorials for you, that's my happy place. This is what keeps me going. And I think I need it especially around this time of year because everything is so chaotic. But my toddler, love her to pieces, but she has been on a serious nap strike for like 3 or 4 weeks now. She might nap once or twice in a week, and when she does, she's up till like 10 p.m. So I'm hoping this isn't the end of her naps because she's not even 2 yet. We're still just trying to tell ourselves every day that this is just a phase and it'll pass. But it is seriously eating into any fun time. By the time she's asleep, I hardly have time to do any crafting. She doesn't nap during the day, which is when I got a lot of my work done. I'm always asked, oh, how do you get so much done with your kids? My son is an angel. So is my daughter. But he's a few years older and he can keep himself busy. Or he can set himself up next to me and quietly work away at his own crafts or Lego and other activities. Where my daughter, she is like a tornado and she needs to be supervised at all times. The only time I relax every day is when she is asleep in her cot because I know she is contained and not pulling anything apart. So it's been a fun couple of weeks. I'm glad I'm still able to get one video out per week. It's Christmas time though, so as you can imagine, I have a whole list of ideas and things that I want to share with you, but I just am barely getting by these last few weeks. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. And again, with me not having a lot of time, I haven't been responding to the comments at the rate that I was before. I would feel like I was already super slack and now my replies are like non-existent. So if you are leaving me comments, I read all of them, every single one of them. I just rarely get to reply right now. But I would love to know in the comments, give me something to read in the few seconds that my daughter will allow me to have my phone in my hands without her trying to pinch it and take videos and photos of herself. What gets in the way of your crafting? Do you have little ones that you're taking care of? Do you just not have the motivation? Maybe your hands aren't able to craft as long as they used to be able to? I would love to know. For me, a few years ago, it was mostly just motivation. I got really down after having my son and I just didn't have it in me to create. I felt so, I don't know. I just didn't have it in me to constantly be creative. I felt like all of that was numbed for a long time, but I'm really into it again. But now my steamroller of a toddler is the main reason I don't get much out. And don't even get me started on my blog. I can't even remember the last time I touched that. I have so much catching up to do over there too. Just know that the lack of videos is not by choice. After finishing up with my colouring and white highlights, it was then time to fussy cut out these images. I set myself up on the couch to see what my husband was doing on Animal Crossing while I cut them out. Today I decided to go with some pattern paper for my background. So here is the paper stack that I used. It is a die cut with a view paper pad. It is from last year. I have so many paper pads at the moment. I figured I need to get through them. And I'm also using some plain brown cardstock. I cut my Merry Christmas twice from the patterned paper and from the brown paper. And I cut a few other letters too, and I'll show you them soon. For now, I'm going to set up my background so that it's ready to stick down onto my Slimline card base. I'm using some double-sided tape here, ensuring that there is enough so that this will stick nice and evenly. Once that was done, I flipped it over and stuck down this strip of brown cardstock that I'm using for my floor. For this, I just used the same Slimline stitch die, so that it fit perfectly. Now with my Merry Christmas, I'm going to be cutting off the A and the S, and that was super simple. It was just one little snip on each. The reason I've got two is because I like to offset my sentiments so that they look like they have a little bit of dimension, and so that they're so flat on the background. So I'm adding just a little bit of glue to my pattern paper in the middle of each letter. I don't have to go all the way to the edges because this isn't going to line up perfectly with the brown one. And as you can see, I'm just laying this down slightly to the right. And because I've used PVA glue, I've got a good few seconds here to move it around before it really starts to set. So I got rid of the A and S in Christmas because I thought it would be funny to turn this into Merry Christmeows. There's just something addictive about lawn fawn puns. They're so cute, so innocent, and so terrible that I couldn't help but change the inside of my card to go along with that theme. And so I'm doing the same with all of these little letters, layering the coloured cardstock slightly offset onto the brown cardstock. And then I'm going to stick this on the inside of my card. The front of this card felt a little bit funny to me because I didn't have a sentiment on it or any wording. I feel like it had something missing. I'll show you what I mean and I'll show you how I address that a bit later. But I really liked the idea of this sentiment, and it was so big on a Slimline card, I wasn't going to be able to fit all of my images. This scene was already chaotic enough without a bunch of letters through it, so I thought putting on the inside would be nice. This would be perfect to send to someone who's got some crazy cats. And I've added some little lights there too, just to continue the chaos on the inside of the card. So here I am removing the backing to my double-sided tape, and I'm going to line this up on my Slimline card base. Because I'm using a Christmas tree that had a rug attached to it, I've cut the rug off and I'm just going over the extra little black stamped lines with my white Jelly Roll pen to cover it up. And now I'm going to start assembling all of my scene. When I set up my scenes, I like to set up individual parts of it, if that makes sense. So here I've got the table with the cookies, milk and lamp. I know that they are going to stay together no matter where I put them on the card, so I like to have them all set up so that I can move it all over the place and see how much space that needs and where it looks best. Same with my little people. Their hats are going to stay on them, and the things that they're holding in their hands aren't going to change, so I try to stick them on early too. This little guy in his cute green pajamas with red dots is going to be sitting on the couch, probably just scrolling through his phone, with this kitty cat sitting next to him. To give some of these pieces on my card front a bit of dimension, I'm going to be using some foam squares and just using them on any items that I think will be in the foreground. And now it's time to start sticking everything onto my card base. And this is both exciting and a little bit scary because it means things are getting serious and I can't move them around after this. So I'm popping my little person behind the tree here, almost as if she's just come back into the room from grabbing her hot chocolate and seeing what's happened. This poor person was just sitting on the couch looking at his phone when all the chaos unfolded. I would also love to know in the comments, have your pets ever knocked over your tree or destroyed something like this? I have a pretty funny story about my cat flooding almost all of our house. I'll save that for another time if I haven't already spoken about that. But my cats are no strangers to destruction and chaos. So I've got this cute little kitty on the floor and he's going to be surrounded by ornaments and the tree star and playing with some lights that the other cat on the couch is dangling down. While that little one may have been sitting on the couch the whole time, I don't have a doubt that these two work together. Something I didn't mention before was that on the Christmas tree I stamped the baubles to be hanging the wrong way so that it looks like they have tipped while the tree is on its side. And now for the funny part, I'm going to be adding some shocked little faces to my people. So I've just grabbed a black pen and drawn over their mouths so that they look like they're gasping. And then I'm going to add some tiny little wobbly eyes over them to show their shocked expressions. They look incredibly creepy while they have PVA glue where their eyes should be. I got this idea from a card in the Lawn Fawn Addicts group on Facebook. Someone had shared a card and a little bear, I think he was jumping on a trampoline, but he had these wobbly eyes on. And we were all having a little bit of a giggle about how cute he was, but how he looked really shocked and a bit worried. So I figured that was the perfect addition to this card, was their shocked expressions. So I had a few little gaps in this card that I wasn't really happy with. My background felt a little bit bare. I know it sounds silly because there's so much here, but I had these gaps that I wasn't really happy with. So I've added some little zoomy lines from Scootin' By, and with them I'm adding some baubles with a little foam square on the back to make it look like there's still things flying everywhere. And there we have it. This card is just so funny. I hope it makes you giggle and brightens your day. If you enjoyed this tutorial, then please give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. I will work out what to do around my daughter's lack of napping so that I can still bring you plenty of tutorials and beautiful crafts. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.